ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಬೆಟ್ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು ಶಾಲಾ ಓನರ್ಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ. ಹೇಗೆ ಶಾಲಾ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಗಳು ಹೇಗೆ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ನಿರ್ವಹಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಥವಾ ಅವರು ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿ ಕಳ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಟ್ ಸೀಟಲ್ಲಿ ಇರೋರು ಸಂಜೀವ್ ನಾರಾಯಣ್ ಅವರು ಒಂದು ವಿದ್ಯಾ ಸಮೂಹವನ್ನೇ, ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳ ಸಮೂಹವನ್ನೇ ನಡೆಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆದರೆ ಅವರ ಆಲೋಚನೆ ಬೇರೆ ಇದೆ, ಅವರು ಮಾಡಿರುವ ಒಂದು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆರಿಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಬೇರೆ ಇವೆ. ಸ್ಥಿತಿಗೆ ಸ್ಪಂದಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವರು. ಸೊ ಆಯೋಜಕರು ಅನುಮತಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಸಂಜೀವ್ ಅವರು ಆಂಗ್ಲ ಭಾಷೆಯಲ್ಲೇ ಉತ್ತರ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ.
Even though we may run private schools, I am not in favor of private schools for the great majority of our population. Let me make that clear right at the beginning. We have 5 schools. We run mainly, it's the low income, first generation students who are our main catchment area, the Alsur area in Bangalore. And the tragedy, I mean, it's a tragedy. That is all I can say. I can say that there is a tragedy unfolding today in front of our eyes, and we will, as was mentioned by the other panelists, we will only know the consequences. This is a generational, it's going to be an entire generation that is going to be affected. And, when we talk of devices, only 30% of our children have devices. We have 240 million children in our country. So we do the math, 70% of our children have no learning whatsoever that has been happening. And we know from pedagogical studies that have been done that it's not stasis. So the children are regressing. It is not like a child in grade 4, he will remain in grade 4. He has lost now what he has learnt in grade 4, and so we're going backwards. And this is going to have an effect on our country, the future of our country. And it's a tragedy that the state does not think of our children as in investment for the future. It sees it only as an expenditure. We have gone to the Karnataka High Court. We went in September saying you are creating 2 classes here. Those with access to digital devices and those without access to digital devices. And it's 70% of our children. What is the state going to do? Will you provide access to digital devices? Will you provide, internet? Even though that is not the best solution, at that point of time, we were looking at it as one possible, solution. And the state of Karnataka said, we do not have the money. If the state of Karnataka does not think that the children of this state is, worthwhile investing in, so ultimately we have to, the people have to step up and say, if you do not think that we are worth investing, our children are worth investing in, we need to make a change. And I think that is the only way that change is going to happen. As the panelists have mentioned before, investment in public education. I mean, right to education is a constitutional right. Article 21A of the Constitution clearly states that. The state is violating that right and is not being held to account. It is not enough for the state to say, I do not have the money to do so, even though that is blatantly false. And the state has money to build ring roads round and round this city, flyovers that are not needed, but they do not have money to build, schools for our children. And so what has happened is, the parents are and children in these low-income private schools in our state have become victims. And now, we have found out what happens if you do not invest in public education. As we have found out, if you do not invest in public health in our country, what the situation is, and we are unfortunately we are reaping, the consequences of that neglect of 70 years that we have had in our country. So the only solution is, as the others said, you need to invest in public education and public health. And we have midday meal scheme in our schools as well. We have seen that children didn't come to school with breakfast, so now they're not even getting breakfast, lunch. So we don't even know what the situation is with the children. And these are urban. We're talking about urban children, so you can imagine in rural areas what the status of affairs is. And as mentioned by the panelists, there's child marriage, there is child labor. These are all grave consequences that we as a country are facing, and it's not being talked about. The state seems to think that these are not important. So ultimately, we have to show that these are crucial, important, basic rights for us, and we have to step up and find a solution, which is find somebody who's willing to invest in public education and in public health. Thank you.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಧನ್ಯವಾದ. ತುಂಬ ಒಂದು ಇದೊಂದು ಗಂಭೀರವಾದ ವಿಷಯದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾವು ತಕ್ಕ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಈ ಚರ್ಚೆಯ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿಯನ್ನು ನಿರ್ವಹಿಸಿದೀವಿ ಅನ್ಸ್ಕೊಂತೀನಿ.
ಬಹಳ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ವಿಚಾರಗಳೊಂದಿಗೆ ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಶಕ್ತಿಯುತ ಹಾಗೂ ಪ್ರಕಾಶಮಾನವಾದ ಅಧಿವೇಶನಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪ್ಯಾನಲಿಸ್ಟ್ಗಳಿಗೆ ತುಂಬ ಹೃದಯದ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ವೇದಿಕೆಯಿಂದ ಹೊರಡುವ ಮೊದಲು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕೊಡುಗೆಗಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಆಮ್ ಆದ್ಮಿ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಕಿರುಕಾಣಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ಸ್ವೀಕರಿಸಬೇಕಾಗಿ ವಿನಂತಿ.